I am sure many people have heard of Bejeweled at least once in their life. Even your own grandparents have undoubtedly heard of Bejeweled before. When I was a small kid, the game was everywhere, especially on the MSN Gaming Zone back then. But of course, one would wonder, what is the story behind Bejeweled? Well, enter PopCap Games. Launched in 2000 and was previously known as Sexy Action Cool. In my opinion, it's kind of an interesting name, but at the same time it's also pretty odd to me. One of their first games to release was a strip poker game called Foxy Poker. It would be their debut creation and the source of income for other games. Bejeweled became the first game under the PopCap name, a rather simple tile matching game. The gameplay resembles matching 3 identical jewels, which means it's actually a match 3 game. One of the earliest puzzle games to introduce such formula was Shariki, which is Russian for the marbles. And you can already see that Shariki was the primary inspiration for Bejeweled. In contrast, Bejeweled is similar to Shariki, but with more appealing visuals than the more plain colorful circles. However, fruits were almost chosen as the game's major design during development, but they were too round. Gems were also considered, but PopCap was unable to locate a suitable type, thus they were almost scrapped as well. What saved the idea was a solution found by sketching simple shapes that resembled gems. So it is reasonable to conclude that when there is a will, there is a way in some circumstances, and Bejeweled shows. Bejeweled began as a Java-based online browser game called Diamond Mine in 2001. In May of that year, the game's deluxe edition was released for PC. So the game has 2 game modes. Standard mode, in which you can only get so far before running out of moves and having to restart, and timed mode, in which you had to play as quickly as possible before time runs out, thus giving it a more arcade-like feel to it. While it was not originally planned, it was added afterwards during development. Knowing myself, I am a sucker for arcade-style gameplay. The adrenaline-pumping speed is what keeps me engaged in gaming in general. I suppose because of its simplistic nature, Bejeweled came out in less than a month of development, and it quickly drew Microsoft's attention, leading to a complete title as a result of their relationship. To seem more distinctive, the game's name was changed from Diamond Mine to Bejeweled. This alteration was also inspired by the name's closeness to an existing game, Diamond Mines. When Microsoft offered the name Bejeweled, Jason from PopCap at first disagreed with the idea, but however the team ultimately decided to go ahead with it. To be fair, I enjoyed the name Diamond Mine, but I can see why it was changed to Bejeweled. You could say I prefer both. Not only Bejeweled's gameplay is so simple but at the same time addicting, the music never fails to be so calming and relaxing. The game's soundtrack was composed by Skaven. He is also well known for creating a certain track that I really liked, which is Razorback, for Epic Games' Unreal Tournament from 1999. To me, it's really fascinating to learn that a music composer created music for not just a successful gem-matching puzzle game, but also contributed to developing one of the most popular arena shooters from the late 90s. Bejeweled only came with a few tracks, however, such as Autonomous, Data Jack, and Network. I like listening to them whenever I fire the game up. Network was one of my favorite tunes to listen to while relaxing, and Data Jack is all action-packed, which works very nicely with the timed game style. Skaven continued to produce tunes for their sequel, Bejeweled 2, before collaborating with Alexander Brandon on the soundtrack for Bejeweled 3, which is something I only recently learned about. That means 2 composers who created the soundtrack for a puzzle game I played as a child are also responsible for creating the music for one of my all-time favorite series, which is of course Unreal. You could say that Bejeweled became a massive hit, selling 10 million copies and being downloaded 150 million times. A few years later, Bejeweled 2 was released. While the original game may be addictive due to the urge to complete certain combos and increase your score, PopCap decided to ramp things up by introducing additional power-ups. One of my favorites is the one that zaps the same jewels. If you like the original Bejeweled, you'll definitely like the sequel. It is certainly worth your time. Bejeweled, like many other successful games, has spawned an extensive number of clones. Not only was it insanely popular in the PC casual gaming scene, it was also increasingly popular in the mobile gaming industry. I mean, like, how many times have you seen an ad for Candy Crush Saga? To be honest, as somebody who's not used to mobile games, a casual game like this is far more approachable than porting Quake to a smartphone with touchscreen controls. I do realize it's like comparing apples to oranges, but that's essentially my take on mobile gaming. Look, I am not a big mobile gamer, and with good cause. There aren't really many mobile games that I would love to play outside Bejeweled. Also, don't get me started on the swarm of advertisements every 5 to 10 minutes of play. Aside from the mobile clones of Bejeweled, another clone, Jewel Quest by iWin, was published in the same year as Bejeweled 2. I do think I remember playing this game though. May have to check it out again. While there were people duplicating its success, Bejeweled had several spin-offs and ports throughout the years, and also PopCap released more games. The most well-known of which were Suma, Peggle, and Plants vs. Zombies. All of these happened before PopCap was acquired by Electronic Arts in 2011. Before the acquisition, Bejeweled 3 was the latest sequel of the game, released in 2010. Normally I have more favorable experiences of the first two games than the third one. However, it's important to remember that Bejeweled 3 added a few more additional power-ups to the mix. In addition, new modes have been added, such as Diamond Mine, which is a timed mode but grants you extra time for clearing a particular path. I think this one is my favorite. The most recent Bejeweled game, however, is Bejeweled Champions, which was introduced in September 2020. It was intended for World Winner and Swagbucks users, particularly for gambling purposes. Ha! Take that, Team Fortress 2! Anyway, I believe Bejeweled 2 was the pinnacle of the series, or maybe the third one, depending on your preference. But it makes me wonder, will a Bejeweled 4 be released in the future? Well, only time will tell. Anyway, that about wraps up this video. What is your favorite Bejeweled game? I would like to hear your stories about it. And as always, peace out.